get started on currents and climates. I have little Elin here with me because she wants to learn about the currents and climates. She's about 2 months old now. So our essential question is, what does comparing the average climate data of two land masses tell us about the ocean's effect on the climate? Um, in our last lesson, we learned about unequal heating of the Earth and why the equator is warmer than the poles. In this assignment, you will be looking at how ocean currents affect the climate. Some materials we need to help us. There's this link right here. This is some information that we have already gathered for you. So this way we all have the same temperature and climate data for these two locations. It's 2 pages. And then there will be a link to a YouTube video here to help you get started on this assignment, this video. So search why are the poles colder than the equator? I want you to type that in there. You can think about our last week's assignment. You can research it, but we want you to put it in your own words. And then what are the coordinates of Clifton, Ireland and Bouvet Island? You probably went over coordinates in social studies class. I think we've used them once or twice in science. And here's an example. Here's Auburn's coordinates. And so you'll just type those in there. Are these two places a similar distance to the equator? So think about a number line. -4 and +5 are a similar, not the same, distance to 0 in the center. So they're apart, but they're about a similar distance from the 0 on a number line. Based on the distance to the equator, do these two places get a similar intensity of sunlight? So think about last week's assignment with the sun on the globe and the graph paper. Next, there's this world map here showing us ocean currents. Red is for warm currents, blue is for colder currents. Then it shows us currents for the whole world. So there's some things I want you to do. I want you to double click on it to edit it. And then on this map, I want you to mark Bouvet Island and Clifton, Ireland. You'll have to use Google Maps or the internet to figure out where they are. And then to draw on it, you need to come over here, select this little line. There's a little arrow here. So maybe I want to draw a line, or I can draw an arrow. I'm going to label Auburn. So I'm not exactly right, but I'm close. And then I can use this text box one right here. Then I can type in Auburn, WA. And then I can move it, make it a little bit closer. You can change the font and stuff. So you have that there. So you'll label those two locations. Here is our procedure for this. For this, study the data provided on the student reference sheet, climate comparison, to learn about Bouvet Island and Clifton, Ireland. Using the information, plot the locations of these two areas on a map of major ocean currents. Do this on the map on the page above. Create a graph that plots the average low and high temperatures for the two locations. Make a key to show the different graph meanings of the lines on your graph. You will have 4 lines on one graph. We've done this several times before. And then you will analyze data to determine if the current has affected the climate of each area. Here is the data table. Here's a link to the information you will use. And then again, this is so everyone is using the same information. You can learn. It's 2 pages. They have 6 rows. You have to figure out what information you need. So this is Bouvet Island high temperatures. Then you will create a line graph. Create a graph based upon the data. Make a general statement about it. So like a 1-sentence description about what the graph is showing. You can create a line graph on paper and put a picture in the computer, or you can create a graph on the computer. Here we have a YouTube video to help you do that from one of our past labs. This is a line graph with 4 lines. Make sure it has a key. Here, explain the difference between weather versus climate. We watched a video about this in class a week or two ago. You may need to look it up a bit, but please use your own words. And then using the information here, this is that same sheet, describe the amount of rainfall each location gets. Then we are going to create a claim evidence reasoning, answering this question. How does an ocean current affect the climate of a landmass? Make sure you're using complete sentences. So for the claim, we gave you some hints here for what to put. For evidence, we gave you some hints as well. And reasoning, we gave you some hints for what you should talk about. So in claim, these two islands are similar distances from the equator, meaning that they get a similar intensity of light. Why don't these two locations have a similar climate? And think about the ocean currents you see nearby them. So you'll have to look at your map. Evidence, talk about the graph and what temperature currents they are next to. So this is probably going to be 2 sentences at least here. And then reasoning, explain it. So reasoning, are these two places a similar distance from the equator? How/why does the ocean current affect the climate? We did a practice claim evidence reasoning at the beginning of the year where we talked about cell phones. What cell phone is better, iPhone or Android? I think iPhones are better, so that's my claim. I don't have to give any reasoning to it, that's just my claim. For evidence, I would say, oh, it has a big screen, it has a good camera, my battery lasts all day, and then reasoning is kind of, why do those features matter? Why do you want a battery that lasts all day in your phone? Why do you need a good camera? So, there we go. Good luck. Email your teachers if you have questions.